everybody. Thanks.
Are we good, Alicia?
Yep.
Okay. I will move this back.
I didn't know exactly where you wanted them.
I know. There we go. Are these new?
No.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
The board. Which part?
the easels
Oh, no.
is what I thought he was asking about.
I thought it was talking.
So, good morning. We had an excellent dinner last night. I think it was great. I couldn't help but notice that we had a lot of individual conversations going on, which I thought was wonderful. We got to know each other a little bit better. I always think that's a good thing for a group to do, is to get to know each other on a different kind of level than you do just normally in the office. It was really good. Thank you again, Alicia and Rose, for setting that up. The meal was excellent. The service was wonderful. And thank you. Today is going to be the final day. Councilmember Young has told me that at 11:59 she's putting things up, and at 12 o'clock she's walking out the door.
And I'm riding with it.
Councilman Contreras has decided he wants to stay till 5 o'clock.
5:30.
He set up a train for us to go back to Willow Park on.
Take 2 days.
So I want to give you all,
Be fun,
this is
though.
how today's going to roll out. I'll kind of give you a brief, what we would call State of the City or 2-year review of what we've accomplished as a council and a staff. We'll then have staff members come up and give you their presentations, basically laying out what their needs are over the next 1 to 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And some of them are going to vary, obviously. Not all staff members are going to present. I may come up and just kind of wrap up some of the things for some of those staff members as well. And then after that, we're going to have council. You'll have your chance to either come up here or wherever you're comfortable with, and you can present what you think your vision is. And then somewhere along in there, we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back and start putting the plans and the visions and what we want as a staff by the time we leave here at 12 o'clock, not 12:01, but 12 o'clock, is the staff wants a clear idea of what you guys want us to go out and execute. We want to know what you want us to accomplish. And I think throughout the morning you'll see that some of those things may vary. There will be consensus on a lot of things. There will not be consensus on some things. And so that's where we are. I want to thank Lisa for, y'all know Lisa from the chamber. She told me not to give her a fancy introduction. Lisa's going to help MC the event today. She's going to make sure the conversation keeps going, that we don't kind of get bogged down into the weeds on some issues. And we appreciate you MCing the event for us, so thank you very much. So we will begin. And again, we do have some staff members. I think Eric can tell you this. They kind of got caught up in the breakfast rush. To give you any idea, Mike Lenore still has not had his breakfast served to him.
Wow. Oh, he's on second.
Well, I still got an hour and a half to talk. So.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't. If you get up at 6:30, you don't have a problem waiting for breakfast.
Greg gets the award. Most
Yes, you do. So, with the exception of Greg, I think we don't have anybody served more than 2 years on council. And I think Greg's in here. Is this your 5th year?
1 on 6.
1 on 6. So, Greg's the veteran of the group.
That's a scary thought.
And it's safe to say that in the last 24 months, which just think about this, 24 months ago, you were brand new. You were brand new. You were just still on DOA. You were on P&Z. And I don't even know if you graduated college yet.
Just graduated high school.
Yeah.
You just had a baby.
Yeah. You were just watching Titanic after with tears in your So, we've accomplished a lot over these last 2 years. A lot of that has been from staff telling you what we need to go do, and y'all giving us having the confidence in us to go do it. A lot of that has been you coming to us saying, we want these things accomplished, and staff has responded to that. And so, as Holly said yesterday, the delicate balance between council and staff, if you're on the same page, if you're all pulling in the same direction, there's a lot of things you can accomplish. I don't know if that was the history prior to me coming here, and I don't want to sit there and say it was or it wasn't. I don't know what that looked like before December 4, 2018.
It's a bad dream, we won't go.
Well, what I do know is that from December 4, 2018, there's been a lot going on. And before we get into specifics, I want to say one thing. I want to stress this very clearly. When we did my 1-year review in December, I made this comment that it doesn't matter what we've done, it doesn't matter where we go as a staff or as a city administrator. I can't do this job without these guys in the room, even the ones eating waffles. I can't do this job without Carrie. I can't do it without Mike. I can't do it without Alicia. And probably the biggest asset to me as a staff member has been Bernie. I want to thank you for everything. I want to thank you for being a friend, for being a mentor, for being a colleague. Bernie and I have, if you see us driving around town in Tahoe, we're not just driving around wasting gas. Sometimes we can record the conversations we have with each other about the issues. Sometimes we cannot. But I think he and I work well together. We bounce ideas off of each other. And you have some great leadership in Bernie, to be certain. That's not to say that Carrie or Mike or anybody else, but Bernie's been my right-hand guy from almost the jump. And again, I thank you for the work you did in the interim. Just reminding me of all the things that you did in that 3 months, double homicide and settling the lawsuit. That's not the easiest thing in the world to tackle. So you did that with professionalism and class and dignity, and you represented Willow Park well. So let's move on to some of the specific things. Water has been the number one issue almost from the time I got here. Water was the number one issue. We got to get Fort Worth water. We got to get well water. We're going to go to Weatherford for water. Over the last 24 months, we have rehabbed water wells. We've spent nearly $1 million rehabbing wells and adding new wells. A year ago, our capacity for water was about 1.2. Our demand was right at 1.2, and I think we all remember 12 months ago, it was about this time last year where you had 118-degree days consistently for 10 days. And that's when it really put the stress on the system. Shortly thereafter, in October, we started planning to rehab the wells. I think y'all know this. Some of those water wells have never been rehabbed in 40 years. And so today I can report to you that we can produce anywhere from 1.4 to 1.6 GPD. And we still got a couple more wells online that we're going to do. We have 2 wells at what he calls Deer Park, which is the park by Squaw Creek. Combined between those 2 wells, we're producing over 200 GPM, gallons per minute. We're adding another well at
Royal View.
Yes, thank you. For Royal View and Squaw Creek, we have a Trinity and a Biloxi. We're going to add a Trinity well to that. We're expecting probably a little under 100 GPM on that one as well. And so your staff went out and addressed probably the biggest issue we had last year. The other component of that, and it can't go understated, is that we finally had the agreement with Fort Worth in place. I think it took so long to put this together, and when you deal with the city of Fort Worth, as I think Gary's finding out, when you deal with the city of Fort Worth, there is no such thing as a fast process. But we finally got it done. We have the agreement signed. We have the agreement signed with Hudson Oaks, and we fully expect the Water Development Board to fund us us for this project on August 15th. That project will get you around 3.5 GPD. So between your wells and your Fort Worth water, you're going to get roughly 5 million, maybe a little more, in total GPD. That will supply a city of about 30,000, 35,000. I do not anticipate us ever growing to that. I think we're going to top out around 15 to 18,000 if we ever do that 30 years down the road. But what you have done as a council, and the one thing that in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, they're all going to look back on the 6 of you, and they're going to sit there and say, you built this. You may not have put the street in, you may have not been there when the building went up, but none of this happens if you don't have water. None of this. And so, if you want to know what your legacy is going to be, in my opinion, it doesn't matter what we do from here on out. You got the first domino to fall. And that's an important thing. Because without water, there's no people, there's no businesses. Without businesses, there's no sales tax. It's the first domino that's got to go. You did that. We did that, to quote the mayor from yesterday. And I think that's an accomplishment that's probably been brushed over, probably due to all the communications going on during the election, but I think that's a victory lap that this council is going to be taking for a long time. Streets, obviously Ranch House Road is probably the bell cow for street repair and improvement. When I first got here, you had a bond in 2016. The funds and the proceeds of that bond were insufficient to even accomplish the job that was promised on the ballot in I guess it was May or November of 16. My thought is, and I think it's true, they simply waited too long to go out and pull the trigger to do it. Construction costs went up and you had to bridge that gap. I appreciate you guys having the courage to issue additional debt to do it, but not only that, but to do it right. I don't think some of you guys were not on board or on the council, excuse me, when that vote was taken. I think you 3 were, I don't know. Yeah.
No, nobody else.
And so that was an important vote. Again, that was probably the first domino that fell. And I'm going to tell you this, and not to brag on him. First of all, I think Bill Ross is probably the best mayor I've ever worked for. And that's, there was a moment when we were talking about Ranch House, and it was, do we do asphalt or do we do concrete? And there was a lot of rhetoric on social media about asphalt, asphalt, asphalt. And me and Derek and Bernie were sitting at one of those makeshift tables that we have in the council chamber. And Doyle walks in completely for something different. And he says, hey, what are y'all working on? I said, well, we're talking about Ranch House. And I said, you know, you're going to have to issue debt to take care of this. You're going to have to issue a little bit more debt to take care of the concrete. We need to know what you want to do. And he stands up, and right at the corner of Betty's desk. He's walking out right at the corner. I can still see it right now. And he turns around and he says, look, we're going to put this in concrete because it's the right thing to do, and I don't care if it costs me the election. It's the right thing to do. Let's do it. That was the conviction we had as a staff, that we said, okay, let's go and get this thing done. It wasn't political for us. We don't have a vote up here. You guys do. That's why y'all get paid the big bucks. But as a staff, when we have clear direction like that, we know what our objective is, we can go accomplish it. You can have discussions about should we or shouldn't we, but once you make that decision, that's what we, and honestly, I still tell that story today to my city manager colleagues, and everybody loves that as a staff member. So we did Fox Hunt from Crown to Fox Hunt, or we did Ranch House from Fox Hunt to Crown. Wasn't the easiest of construction projects. There were some issues. There's still some issues that we're going to fix. I can tell you that the road was done to COG standards. I know that was probably a 30-day little sideshow on whether or not it was done right or not. And now we're going to continue that. We will continue Fox Hunt south from, or Ranch House south from Fox Hunt to Scenic. And we'll have a pre-con meeting with the contractor next Friday. At that point, we will announce a town hall for traffic plans and so on and so forth. And so be expecting that. We will probably put that out next Monday. I don't release anything on Friday afternoons because nobody pays attention, so we'll put something out next Monday as to when we'll do a town hall traffic plan discussion. We will reveal the plan. The plan's going to be 99% in place. We'll take citizens' comments and feedback, but by and large, professionals that we've contracted with to do it. The other issue that I want to say that we probably got more kudos for is the striping on the south side of Ranch House from frontage to Bankhead. I never thought spending $23,000 would get you so much goodwill. That was one of the first things we did when we got here, and it was, you know, you would have thought that we parted the waters or moved the entrance ramp at Bankhead or something, because people just took it, they were enamored with them. I never thought putting stripe on concrete would do so much work, but there you go. Same thing can be said about Crown Point. We did that last week as part of the Crown Point extension as well, and we got a lot of good feedback on that. The work's not done. We still have residential streets that we need to work on and accomplish and get done, and surely we will have some of those discussions later on. I can tell you, we did do the ILA with Parker County, Steve Dugan. I don't know if y'all know this, but it rained a lot. And the county is so far behind, they notified us 2 weeks ago that they will not probably be able to get our residential streets done in this fiscal year. So we are working on some alternatives to that we can discuss at a later date. Public safety building, we issued the GO bond in November of 16. Much like Ranch House, it sat on the shelf for nearly 2 years. And so we had to issue additional debt to get it up and going. And I want to say this, as a staff, when we started looking at Ranch House and the public safety building, we looked at it as two projects that were on high center. And we had to figure out how to get them going. And every day that you waited was that the cost to get it going just kept going up and up and up. And that's why we came to you guys with a recommendation for debt. But we began construction in September of 2018. Again, the rain caused some weather delays, but we expect the completion of the public safety building sometime in the fall of 2019. I have joked that we will have a Christmas party and a ribbon cutting on the same day. Chief West is not as pessimistic as I am.
September.
Christmas in September.
I think Lenore's more on the point. We'll be having a Thanksgiving potluck.
That's about right.
Watching the Cowboys lose to the Redskins and having a ribbon cutting. But it will be completed in the fall of 2019. I made an announcement the other day that we were going to do a walkthrough. We don't quite have that ready to go. We're going to make sure that it's AC. We got AC in the building before we send you through there in hard hats. And so we probably have that in the next couple of weeks. Development, Bernie will get into this a little bit later, but I can tell you over the last 2 years you've had approximately $75 million in taxable value growth. Your assessed value was around, I want to say, $490 2 years ago, and I expect it to come in at $565 this year. So you are in a high growth area, and whether some people think that's a good thing or a bad thing, it is what it is. The building permits remain high, so we still have a lot of desire for people to come here. Our housing remains strong. We did have some hiccups in Meadows Place, but I think those hiccups are getting resolved. And the thing is, though, and I think Lisa could probably share this from a chamber standpoint, the economy in Texas is so booming right now. Statewide unemployment is less than 3%. If you don't have a job in Texas, it's because you don't want a job. If you noticed, every store that we went to, everybody's hiring. The restaurant last night was hiring. When we went to get some stuff after the meeting yesterday, that establishment was hiring. This hotel is hiring. You can say the same over in Willow Park as well. And so you have a booming economy, you have high growth, you have all the things in place for us to literally explode. One of the trends of that is your sales tax. We've had approximately 140% increase in sales tax over a 2-year period. 140%. We talked to Holly yesterday. Their take is $14 million. Typically 7%. We'll get the sales tax later, but 7%. $7 million is what they're going to bring in. We're bringing in about 1.2. We have plateaued on sales tax over the last 3 years, but that's not because the economy is bad. It's not because the restaurants are not performing. Keep in mind, they've been sprinting for about 24 months. And they have reached, I think some of them have reached their plateau. But we have additional restaurants coming on. You've heard Aaron talk about the loss coming in. Restaurants, grocers, whatnot. I think that when we get some of this development online over My Fuzzies, when Kyle gets some of his restaurants in that they've been talking about for a year, I think you'll start to see our sales tax even go higher than that. I fully expect us to get around the $2 million range in sales tax in the next 24 months. Probably just under $2 million in the next 24 months. And then by that point, you'll have more stuff coming online. Keep in mind that when they come to City Council with an idea or a concept, we don't actually see any money for about 24 months. So what you are seeing now, we won't see any money for 24 months. So what you've approved 2 years ago with the shops, you're now starting to see some of the dividends. One of the things that kind of came on late in this last 2 years, but I think it's needed, is that you never really had a park system. You've had parks, so I don't want to say you hadn't. But when we did the public safety building, we had to take out the old park, and quite frankly, it needed to be taken out, needed to be removed. It was a liability waiting to happen in many respects. But one of the things that you just did last month, let's backtrack. Last year, you allocated funds for a master park plan. And we're wrapping that up, and I think Bernie and Eric and Leah are having a meeting next week.
Yes.
To finalize the master park plan and bring to council for presentation. But the other thing that you did that quite frankly impressed me is it's easy to talk about quality of life issues. That's what a park is. It's a quality of life issue. If you look at it from a finance standpoint, it's a black hole. And what I mean by that is it doesn't produce any money. But it's quality of life. But what you did was you put your money where your mouth is. I can't tell you how many cities sit here and talk about we want parks or we want this or we want that, and we're all going to come out here and put ideas on paper. But until you allocate funds on that, it's just an idea on paper. And y'all did that last month. And I think it's critical and I think it's important. I think it makes the next project easier to do. The first time you do something, the second time gets easier, especially if it's overwhelmingly popular with the citizens. And I think this is going to be one. The plan right now is to put it where the current public safety building is. And we have a spring of 2020 date for completion. It's a very aggressive date. That's all going to weigh, obviously, on how soon the public safety building can be completed and done. But we have all the dominoes, to use that analogy again. I have all the dominoes lined up with demolition, park equipment, installation, and hopefully we can have that done sometime in the spring of 2020. One of the last thing, and I mentioned this at the start, I want to finish with it. The staff that you have here is the best staff I've ever worked with, hands down. You've had a consistent staff here, which I don't know has always been the story with Willow Park. That consistency brings predictability, stability, and certainty. For example, I know when I go talk to Rose, and even though she's only been here 6 months, 9 months, I know that when I talk with Rose, she knows my expectations. I know what her reaction is going to be. I know that when I go talk to Candy, we are on the same page as far as what we're doing financially. Me and Alicia have great conversations about agendas. Carrie's the best chief of police I've ever worked with, hands down, and that's not even close. Mike Lenore is one of the best fire chiefs in the state. The town burns down. About 60 days into my job, the town's on fire, and I'm sitting at Boo Ray's eating lunch, and all of a sudden Patrick Lawler walks by and he says, "Hey, your town's burning." I'm like, "No, it's not." And I look out the window and I see this huge plume of smoke, and the next thing I see is Mike Lenore going right in front of Boo Ray's, guns ablazing, and I said a few farm words, and but he took care of that. He took control of the issue, and at no point was I ever concerned about the safety of our residents, the competency of the department. At no point have I ever been concerned about the competency of our agency. We've talked about Bernie. I'm trying not to do that because, he's an LSU guy. But I want to say this. You have roughly 150 years of combined municipal experience working for you right now. 150 years. You may be new to municipal government. We're not. There may be problems that you've never faced before. We probably have. And if we haven't, we know somebody who has. I talk to Bobby Roundtree still once a month about Willow Park. Pat Chester has done municipal law for 30 years. He's seen everything. What we're saying is that when you guys come to us with issues, concerns, problems, we have the capacity to more or less we can handle. We can give you options. Now they may not be the options you want, but we can help you. I don't know if that's always been the case here, but I will say this: it's probably the most experienced and arguably the most productive staff Willow Park's ever had. I don't know if you had that 20 years ago. And that's a testament to a couple of things. One, I'm not throwing those guys under the bus at all, because what Willow Park was 20 years ago is not a fair comparison to what Willow Park is in 2019. The 1999 version of Willow Park looks nothing like the 2019 version of Willow Park, and your staff in 1999 looks nothing like the staff in 2019.
Even 5 years ago.
I'll take your word for it. My point being is this. The days of being a quaint, sleepy town of a Winn-Dixie and a Whataburger are over. You will not put that toothpaste back in the tube. You are a high-demand area. You are in the 4th fastest growing county in the state of Texas. There's 254 counties. You're the 4th fastest. You're the 2nd largest city in the 4th fastest growing county. And you are the fastest growing city in Parker County. Clearly, we have growing pains in front of us. Clearly, we have some challenges that they couldn't even conceive 5 years ago in front of us. But you have a staff in place, I believe, that'll help take care of that. Part of that is changing the culture of City Hall. I've identified some of my issues. Leah has pointed them out to me. I've attempted to work on them. I think as a whole, we're more responsive. I think you see more city employees at events. I think you see more promotion from city staff. I think you got a city staff that's proud to work for the city of Willow Park. It's not just another job and a punch and a clock. But without getting into too much, given the events of the past week, I think we're probably the most transparent that you've seen from a staffing standpoint. We've done everything we can to try to accommodate the public. We've always provided documents when we could. And I think you're going to continue to see that. I think you're going to see a staff here that wants to serve you, wants to serve Willow Park, and they're proud of their job and they're proud of their professions. And so that's where we are. Looking forward, and I'll just wrap up with this because I'm running a little late. Every metric that we have indicates we're on pace for a bright future. Whether it be values, sales tax, development, permits, every metric that we use as city managers says you're moving forward in the right direction. Again, with Fort Worth Water, that's going to be about a 20 to 24 month process. With Fort Worth Water coming online, I think the days of people coming up to P&Z and coming up to the city council saying you can't do this development because you don't have the water, I think those days are going to be gone. To that note, we still need to address our wastewater issues. That's not been addressed yet. We need to continue street and road repair. They're not going to get any better, and the construction on it's not going to get any cheaper. The one thing that no one's mentioned so far is I think we probably need to address a new city hall facility in the coming year or years. I think you have outgrown the 2 trailer houses commingled with a single area. We've outgrown that. You now have 2 offices literally in the city council chambers. And so that's something we're probably going to have to look at moving forward. But I think the staff is committed to continue working as a group to achieve the goals and objectives you set forth for us. And so with that said, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it over to Lisa and let you bring up staff members. Staff, y'all are going to be able to give your presentations. Don't go as long as I did because the mayor's about to kill me. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to let Chief West go next, but I just wanted to say that I've been at the chamber for 11 years, and where the city of Willow Park was and their mentality is totally different than where it is today. And Candy can attest to that. There was a lot of, I have newspaper articles that I've kept where Willow Park said they do not want growth. And so to see the growth in the past 2 years has been phenomenal. Y'all are back on the track and going like a locomotive. So y'all are doing a great job, and it's my honor at the chamber to promote the city of and support the city of Willow Park. So without any further ado, Chief West.
And we really do like you, Lisa.
Love you, Lisa.
You know what you are, Lisa? Awesome all day.
I have 2 extras if anybody else wants.
Thank you.
We became friends.
We did.
Oh my gosh.
We got video karaoke from you last night.
So, just like every other department, we have needs. We also have wants. There's not any wants in this packet. We have 2 major issues as far as our staff is concerned. One is compression issue for line level personnel. I have a 2-year guy making the same thing as a 4-year guy. That's our big thing. Our pay. We are low-end competitive starting pay. However, as I was putting this stuff together and doing the research, Hudson Oaks, after the new officer is off probation, they're at $51,000. we can't compete with that currently. So our other issue is that prior to 2017, if you were promoted to corporal, you received no additional compensation. So we added a corporal's position, so we now have 2, and we added 30 cents per hour to their salary, which is great if they're already topped out. But I now have a corporal who is making significantly less than the employees that she's supervising. So that's another compression issue with our staff. That's our big push. We initially looked at, staffing levels and call loads, and we were going to ask for 4 people. And so some of the stuff in there that you will see shows 4 people and equipment for 4 people. We've since backed off of that after some conversations with Bryan, so we're only going to ask for 1. But the step plan is probably the single most important thing for our agency right now. And we've got to get the pay competitive. I've had 3 positions open for months. Y'all gave us a sergeant position last year. It was open from October to April. So we're not attracting quality candidates. I mean, we've had applicants, but they've not stood the background process. So a couple of the other things as far as our pay goes is we need to pay for education. We have 2 employees that have got a master's degree, bachelor's degrees. So they should be compensated for those as well. Medicine industry standard that agencies pay for certification and education pay. We currently do get certification pay. I'm asking to increase that a little bit, not a lot. And those, if you flip through there, the costs associated with each one of these things are all on a supplemental funding request sheet. And our new building, we want to take pride in our new building. I've talked to Chief Lenore, and he said it's a tradition for them to do their own side, but they live there. So my guys are in uniform and they're on shift work, so we'd like to have a janitorial service for the building. Keep it presentable. And some of the other things that we've asked for, the quartermaster software, that's just going to keep us on track with inventory, and we have some high dollar items. If we add additional personnel, then we also need to add more guns. So stop sticks, handguns, we do want to outfit everybody with their own body cam. We're having an issue with, as they take them on and off at shift change, some of the brackets and stuff are breaking, and so those items that we purchased a year and a half ago or so, their warranty is ending, and so those are going to start costing for replacement parts for those mounts. But all that being said, I also want to highlight, I'm almost done, Mayor.
No, I'm not. You're good. I'm sorry. You're good. Everybody's good.
Some of the accomplishments that we had for this year, Sergeant Ramirez is just about to finish her 3rd 3-week module with the Law Enforcement Management Institute of Texas. That is basically the equivalent in our industry as the FBI National Academy. It's a very prestigious course. It's not an easy course. It's not a gimme. And so she'll finish that up this year. And then we'll start sending some other supervisors through that. We completed our first ever Citizens Police Academy for Willow Park. And that is something that we are very proud of. That was an awesome group of people. We did National Night Out. It wasn't as successful as I had hoped. So, council members, you obviously live in the city, so I'm challenging you this year in October for National Night Out. Have a party in your neighborhood. Yeah, weekend at Bernie's, okay.
You know how long I've been trying to get away from that?
Never.
And one of the things that was actually kind of scary for me was we had a shed full of records that dated back to the inception of the Willow Park Police Department. You're not supposed to do that. So we have now successfully completed purging and organizing all the files, so everything that we are required to keep we have, but everything that we didn't need to keep anymore, we have gotten rid of. And so that is, Myra did an excellent job on that. So I also highlighted what we're going to try to do next year, and I'll just hit those briefly. We have been accepted into the Texas Police Chiefs Recognition Program. That is the gold standard in the state of Texas as far as ensuring that your police agency is operating according to the best practices in our profession. So we will start submitting documents for that process as soon as the final paperwork gets through TPCA. I think there's waiting on something from TMO to see if we're going to get a grant to pay for $500 for the program. We're going to continue the management training, as I said. We're going to work on designing and implementing patrol districts instead of just out, going everywhere. Have some district integrity, beat integrity. And we have a crime mapping system that we're going to try to go live with on the city website soon. So I'm not going to go through everything for the next 5 years that I've been there, but as you look through, do you have any questions?
So I do. On the body cam, I saw an article recently about some cities, for some reason, going away from body cams. I don't know if it's cost or issues or whatever it is. So how critical is that for our officers?
I love body cams, but I have a love-hate relationship with them because I don't like the reason I like body cams. I don't like that a police officer's word is now, well, prove it, show me a body cam. When I started in this field 25 years ago, if an officer looked at you and said, on that day that I went to that house, the sky was purple, then you could bet the sky was purple that day. Mm-hmm. And now if you tell somebody, well, yeah, the sky was blue, it was clear, weather conditions, I need to see your body cam. So I don't like the reason that I like them, but I do like them because I think it safeguards the officer, the agency, and the city. So I will not go away from them.
Have you had any pushback from presumably defense attorneys as far as a lack of body cams?
No, and we have one, so we have 5 that came with the new equipment that we bought a year and a half ago or so. The issue that we're having is that because they're being taken on and off so frequently, because they have to share, some of those brackets and pieces are, the camera still functions, but the thing that holds it to the uniform, it's a strong magnet or a clip. So part of it goes inside the shirt, and then so some of those things are starting to fail. So it makes sense for them to have their own. We issued them their own radio, so it just makes sense. And I think that one was about $10,000.
So you're looking at replacing all 5 plus adding 5?
Those 5 are okay.
We can
just
add
need to
brackets.
Add additional.
Yeah, but for those 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So the training academy that you have, what's the utilization of those personnel? Or, I kind of didn't,
Okay, so the Citizens Police Academy, it's an investment. It's an investment in our community, but then it comes back. So the idea behind it is we get a couple of classes under our belt, and then we help them with a Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. Then we implement an advanced Citizens Police Academy, and then those people will then, if they want to be volunteers, they can volunteer at the station, or if the city chooses, we can have a Citizens on Patrol program. I have seen that be very successful. It's amazing what your citizens will do for you. We have, anytime there was a big event, we train them to direct traffic, how to set a cone pattern, all of those things that we can take a sworn person and put in a more critical area, and we can utilize those folks there. And they love it. Mm-hmm. They absolutely love being able to help. It's amazing. So that's the long term, that's where that's going.
Okay. So do we have some equipment cost or anything like that associated with that group then?
Not right now. Everything that we've done for them so far has been stuff that we already have. Now, as the program evolves and we get more hands-on with stuff, we'll need some supplies, but it's minimum. It's minimum. That's why we can offer it. It's free. It just takes our time.
Okay. And then as far as the move to the new facility later this year, I assume we've got all the equipment purchased that's needed, that's new, or anything like that, right? Everything's handled in this year's budget already.
We have, we'll move our big stuff like our copiers, those are fine. Like the evidence room, we have a requirement, I can't remember if it's 2020, we have a requirement, well, certain things will have to be kept in refrigerators in our evidence room, so we've got quotes for those. So there are some things we'll have to purchase, but I think most everything is covered in our FFE budget for the building.
About 99% of it.
I'm sorry?
99% of it.
And what's the plan? We gonna hire a moving company, or how are we making that physical move?
I got a trailer.
Our firefighters, yes.
Firefighter movers. We have
Yeah.
a company, we got quotes on certain things that we just cannot move, and we do have people, organizations move.
Okay.
But we'll have like a move day,
Okay.
but I'm not gonna participate.
Neither one.
Takes you 4 weeks. to
Takes
go
me
to
4
house,
days.
so.
Would you bring up, and Lisa's here, the golf tournament we're having in October?
Yes, so yesterday when somebody, Bernie or Brian, was bashing the Cowboys, and I said, yeah, but Rayfield Wright's a rock star. So at our Citizens Police Academy banquet, the mayor's sitting there, and he says, I think that's Rayfield Wright. He says, I'm going to go introduce myself. He did, and then from that conversation that night, he and his wife said they want to do a golf tournament benefiting police and fire. And I'm ever the skeptic. I was like, okay. Well, then we had a meeting. And y'all had a meeting, and then we all had a meeting, so it is a celebrity golf tournament, October 14th. And so far, he had 4 people already committed. And by the next meeting, he's going to have a whole list. It will be 3 players, 1 celebrity, if you buy that entry fee. Auctions.
Yeah, we're working on a lot of different sponsorship opportunities, raffle items. Most of the items that will be there to auction off will be signed by a Hall of Fame player. So it'll be big. It'll be really big.
So we're really looking forward to that. And,
That'll help with some of this.
It
Well,
will.
like an equipment, but it won't, that can't go for staffing, you know.
Right, and we've actually been working on our wish list for the golf tournament, and one of the things is the skybox, so the little scissor jack things with the, so one of those. If we can't get body cams through the budget, then maybe we can get them through that. Automatic license plate readers. Yeah. Yes. I know, I just geeked out, sorry. But yeah, ALPRs. Be awesome.
That's a good thing. It's going to benefit the city.
Yes. Yeah, so, I don't think that, PD's asked for anything crazy outrageous. But, that's all I got.
Thanks.
Chief? So when Chief West talked about the Citizen on Patrol Group, my father served on that program with Fort Worth for 20 years.
Really?
He was so proud to put those little magnets on his car and drive around with his walkie-talkie, and yeah, he loved that. So for 20 years until he wasn't able to drive anymore. So yeah, so that's good for the citizens. So next, Chief Lenore's going to go, and before you get up, I just want to thank you for no fatalities or anything for that 2100 acre fire. I'll remember that day. I was at the chamber, and you can see the smoke in our backyard, and we're fielding calls because, believe it or not, people called the Chamber of Commerce for information. And so the city staff was instrumental in, keeping us up to date on what was going on. So help me welcome Chief Lenore.
Thanks, everybody. So you got kind of the 2 different sides of mic.
you got the calm, cool, relaxed, and then you've got the serious side of Mike that you're going to see today that you saw during the fire. The fire department, just to give you a history of it, we started in 1971 with all volunteers. We got our first paid 2 firefighters, John Justice and Walker Lawrence, in 2006. And they covered 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and on the weekends. They're your longest tenured firefighters in your city. They were a contract department up until 2014 when they signed an agreement to be part of the municipal fire department. So before that, the First Responder Board was your contracting agency that the city contracted money with to provide still to firefighters. We ended up getting additional firefighters to cover 2 firefighters per shifts. You have 3 shifts, A, B, and C shift. This department's an all-hazard department. We do structure fire, we do hazard materials response, we do wildfires, obviously, motor vehicle accidents, swift water rescue, confined space, ropes. You name it, we pretty much do it. We've done animal rescue. We've done animal control issues. So there's quite a bit that this department does that even the citizens themselves don't know what we do. Following on up into that, certifications with respect to the police department, highest certified required department in the city. Fire certifications annual are 20 to 30 hours. It's 20 hours plus every assigned responsibility that you have. I have arson, I have inspection, I have plans review, so that's 2 additional hours per assignment. Hazmat tech. All of your firefighters are hazmat techs. So we can do all kinds of stuff with hazardous materials. We just don't have the equipment for it. That's extra 10 hours. So we're looking at a base firefighter annual certification renewal of 30 hours. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're busy Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 on your shift day, we got to find some time to do some training hours. So we have an hour allocated each day, each shift to do training. So that's just fire. To be a firefighter, you have to have your EMT to be a TCFP commissioned municipal firefighter. So a basic firefighter, basic EMT is 60 hours for 4 years. My paramedic certification is 144 hours for 4 years that I've got to do additionally, which I'm behind on. My TCOL hours are 80 for 4 years. So, me alone, I have 360 hours for 4 years that I've got to do. Kevin now has that. So, we're constantly doing certification training, CE training. The majority of this stuff we're getting either aid through budget, through Target Solutions, our new software that, thank you for approving last year. It's helped out a whole bunch. We've gotten a lot of CE training taken care of out of that. And also TCC. We're driving to TCC. We're getting great hands-on. We're learning how to do things with less. And it's working out so far. Actually getting to go into live fire mocks. It's not the heat that we're getting in regular structure fires, but it gives you the idea. So we get to do that. Your certifications, This year, we will have all but one firefighter that will be an advanced firefighter. To get an advanced firefighter, you have to be in the fire service for 8 years, time served. That's a long time that your firefighters have been here with the city. This is all with the city of Willow Park. That's from contract to current now. So the dedication's there. You've got 3 master firefighters. To get a master firefighter, you have to have an associate's in something. Could be underwater basket weaving. But as long as you have an associate's, you're your master firefighter. So those are great accomplishments that the fire department has done. You have 7 part-time firefighters that work. They help cover shifts. They kind of cover extra hot and heavy days that we have, like summertime coming up. They work at other fire departments. And so they live here in the city, so they like to help out. I think it's awesome. You have 5 volunteer firefighters that are State Fireman Fire Marshal Association members that we require by city ordinance. You have to have at least the introductory to be a volunteer firefighter. It's kind of part of our mutual aid agreements with the other county fire departments. So everybody has to have at least the SFFMA 1 intro. And that's just liability reasons. You've got some training. You're just not Joe Blow off the street. Hey, I want to be a fireman. Okay, great. No, we're going to send you to training. We do that. Texas Forestry Service has been taking care of those. So the only thing you're seeing out of that is bunker gear that it's costing to put them in. Accomplishments that we've had for the last year. Our free training from Texas Forestry Service. Assistant Chief Schneider has been diligently doing grants for training and everything. It hasn't cost anything except overtime and fuel to get to it. And some of it's even online, so it's taking computer time. We've completed ropes 1. There's a ropes 1 and a ropes 2. These are used for swiftwater rescue, high rise. We've got all of our high rises coming in now, our hotel. So we'll need this for evacuating people should the inevitable happen. We have motor vehicle extrication technician, new certifications they come out with. We're waiting on it to go to state certification level. All your firefighters have this. We've learned new ways of cutting people out of a vehicle, how to use the new tools that y'all purchased with the engine, and you also have now with the ladder truck. Great tools. We've learned how to use them to the max. And so it's been a great class. We've had promotionals. With the ladder truck coming in that y'all approved, lieutenants now in fire history, you have to be a truck captain. Pay didn't change, the title changed. So our lieutenants are now captains. A lieutenant will be on an engine. So once we get enough staffing to take care of the engine, we'll have a lieutenant on the engine. We've got truck captains that are in service. They're all your promotions. Captain Schneider moved up to Assistant Chief Schneider. Role's still the same, taking care of training, operations, and everything else for us. Kevin, he was our fire inspector. He's now our assistant fire marshal. Kevin just completed his law enforcement certification, so now he can go forth and write tickets and get arson and add CrossFit in the mix.
Kevin has a badge and a gun.
Kevin has a badge and a gun. Jared Junker has been working diligently on the emergency management plan. The hazard mitigation plan was something that we needed in 2014. It didn't get passed. This helps the mayor out whenever the state calls him and says, hey, what do you have? And he goes, let me check with Chief West and Chief Lenore and see what we've got going on. So this helps get additional funding for almost anything through the federal level. Flood mitigation plans, communication projects, all kinds of things. Inspections and plans review. The fire department takes care of that as far as the fire side aspect of it. We kind of try to catch additional things that get missed. Radio equipment, y'all took care of radio equipment for the fire department and the police department. That was in my capital improvement plan, so thank you. You've already knocked that out of the park on that, so we're good with that. The radio system has been great. I haven't heard of any complaints since we had the new radios. The ladder truck, that was a big step for y'all, and I appreciate it. We appreciate it. I know the citizens will appreciate it. I could have used it Wednesday on that house fire at Breeders, because me on the roof was pretty steep, taking pictures of the investigation. With this purchase of the ladder truck, you took care of equipment. You took care of new air packs that we needed that I asked for last year that we had to cut. These packs are 15 years warranty. I'll be long gone by that time.
I will too.
So somebody else can have that problem.
Hey, Mike, I'm going to ask you a question. When's the ladder truck? What's the ETA on that?
It's going to be August to September. I'm waiting to see what's happening with, it's in Nebraska right now getting ladder testing, so they mounted the ladder on it. And so they said it could be 3 weeks, it could be 3 months. It depends on the speed at which they're going. Their communication isn't the greatest.
Do we need to delay on delivery until the building's available?
No. I've got a place for it if it shows up early. I'm anticipating it being here August to September, to be honest with you. I don't think the public safety building's going to be ready. Station 2 was built for a ladder truck. So it's got the capability to house it. The truck won't be in service much because we won't be able to park it anywhere at Station 1. So we'll be having to ride the engine, and the ladder will be out there sitting. The next big ticket item is kind of the one that gets me. NFPA 1710, all of you received the paperwork that I gave you for it. NFPA 1710 has multiple facets to it. The biggest one is staffing. For a engine pumper truck, it's all the same word. Ladder truck, pretty much however many seats you have in the truck, that's how many rear ends you need in it. The minimum is 4. New York has 6. New York has super high rises. We don't. But your minimum seating is going to be 4. We've been 2 for a very long time. In 2013, Bryan College Station had the Knights of Columbus fire. I don't know if y'all knew anything about that or even heard about it. One of the lieutenants was Eric Waltz. I worked with Eric at Marty MS. He passed away in that. They only had 3 on the engine and didn't have enough to pull them out. The state requires us to have a 2 in and 2 out rule. So 2 firefighters in, 2 firefighters out, waiting. It's called a rapid intervention team. If you don't have enough people, you don't have enough to safely put out the fire. On a rescue situation, someone's trapped, we can send 2 firefighters in. It's not optimal, but we have the ability from the state to be able to do that. They granted us that, but it has to be for a rescue purpose only. So, that being said, the asking for additional staffing is for a reason. It's not just for a wants or a needs. It's not a want, it's a need. I've asked for 6 on this budget. So that's 4 firefighters in your seats for your ladder truck.
So, quick question, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, all right, so what's, in addition to Willow Park, what's our service area? I mean, I know we got relationships and agreements with Hudson Oaks, probably Alito and Anetta's, I assume, in the county. Mm-hmm. So is there an opportunity to be creative to have agreements with all those entities to have them provide personnel on a full-time basis to fill some of those spots? Is that something even feasible?
You can, but here's the problem with it. So, me and you have been on the engine for a very long time. I know how you work, you know how I work.
Mhm.
We're gonna ask Amy from Alito to come join our team.
Right.
Amy's
Full-time.
been a firefighter full-time, but she's not gonna be on here on mine and your shift every single day. She's gonna be on whatever days that she's not on Alito Fire Department or Hudson Oaks or whoever on her normal department. She's gonna be the out.
Right,
when
can't
we
we,
know how.
Ask those entities to adjust their schedules to align with what we need to keep our teams set up. I mean, I know this is a little bit unorthodox, but, in order to meet your manpower requirements, is that something we can look at to share the cost burden with those entities? And it's something.
It's kind of the same problem that we're all having now. It's all about money.
Mm-hmm.
And so ESD1, which is your largest emergency service district in Parker County, he's struggling. He's got 3 firefighters on his pumpers and to cover his stuff so he can have a mutual aid agreement with Fort Worth, who's 10-15 minutes away. And they're supposed to also cover Morning Star and Walsh Ranch,
Okay.
which we also get called to go help. But they're having the same issue that we're having. It's all about money and getting the personnel, the legacy cost.
And I think I can help you communicate the way you communicated to me. He said you bring in a different person, say the two of you have been working together, you'd be able to look at each other and know what you're thinking because you're on the same team. You'd be able to look at each other and know what that strength is, what that, and you learn to complement each other. If I came into it, I wouldn't be able to react that quickly. And also, given that you're so short-handed, you need that ability to be able to work with each other where you just know. You just look at each other, where you make up for each other.
So wouldn't you also, looking at increasing what we require for mutual aid from ESD1 would require that we pay.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
our citizens
Yeah.
aren't taxed for ESD1 because we have a fire department.
Yeah.
And so to increase that, we'd have to,
Yeah.
we'd have to add taxes to
Yeah.
our citizens for ESD1.
Yeah.
They would say, yeah, now you're asking for service and we'll tax you for it, so.
Which ultimately, we do have part-timers, we do have volunteers. Unfortunately, it's the same setup. We've got part-timers from other fire departments that, yes, they know exactly how Colleyville works, how Coppell works, how Fort Worth works, where they're at. And they train with us and everything else, but it's not on an every day, every shift basis. So the 3 of us can go and we go on the fire scene. We know, I don't have to talk on the radio a lot because everybody knows what I want and know exactly how to do it. If you listen to the radio traffic on the structured fire on Breeders, there wasn't a lot. I could probably get the tapes pulled if they still had it. I mean, it equivalated to those 2 guys knocked the fire down real quick. Chief 35 is doing his 360 around the residence. Fire's out. And that's pretty much it. Command's terminated. They know what I want and what I expect. And the shift guys, each other, know what each other wants. There wasn't a lot of engine 35A to engine 35D, A being the lieutenant, the captain, D being the driver. I need this, I need that. There's none of that radio traffic because we're a team and we're training together at all times because we're all one group. Having the part-timers, the volunteers, it's great that we have them, but they're not training with us on an everyday basis.
So Mike, how many responded as structures?
3.
3. So that's the issue, is you can't have just 3 people responding to a structure. You have mutual aid companies, you have, multiple alarms that you can call, but you're talking, possibly anywhere from 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes before they arrive. And you have volunteers that they're at the house and it takes them 5, 10, 15 minutes to get to the station to get on gear and then another amount of time to get there. And you have to have personnel on the structure, just like Mike mentioned, for safety. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a structure where you got knocked in the head or something, and it's really nice to know somebody's behind you.
And this, it's always bad whenever you have to throw the liability part out. But essentially, what's the price of hiring 6 at the grand total? And my numbers are probably wrong, and I'll get Candy to help me. But adding the 6 total to what we already have currently, I'm at 806,563 just for salary alone. That's not any of the other benefits that we produce.
Just to clarify, that's 806,000
Yes.
and change.
Yes,
Right.
and we were at 573 last year. That is just for the salaries. That's not the benefits. A lawsuit for a downed firefighter is a lot more. That's in the millions, and that's just for one firefighter.
Is that and that's probably your number one far and away need?
My biggest ticket item is I need people. I need rear ends and seats.
Okay.
And like I said, that's not a need for me. That's not a want for me. That's for the citizens and for y'all.
Now remind me, did you say we do or do not have the equipment for those additional personnel already in the budget?
We've got the
We're working on that budget right now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where, not to bring this back up again, but that's where we have to figure out what y'all's direction is in terms of what your tax rate wants, where you want your tax rate to go. We talked yesterday about what an 8% looks like. Well, he just tripled your entire 8% take.
You're looking at also, if you're looking at your benefits, you're looking at probably about $1,000 a month per employee.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I can say as a business in your city, I would hope that the council would look long and hard at making sure the police and the fire have exactly what they need to protect us. I have had a personal incident where the fire department helped me, and I really appreciate it. And to think that if they didn't have the staff, what would have happened to me, or could have happened to me, would have been pretty scary. So, next, Bernie.
You want to do capital, you want to just hit all this one, just quick over?
Yeah, just, okay.
Thank you. All right, I'll pass this out for you. We're going to talk about development real quick, and then I'll jump into capital, and we'll give you a brief overview.
Bernie is kind of doing double duty here. Raymond had texted us yesterday, and he had some personal things come up, so he couldn't make it. So,
And Derek had conflicting on his
Yeah.
agenda as well. So in development, we are not asking for any new personnel. We have within our department, myself, Tara, and we contract out for Betty. She is a contract for planning and zoning, and she helps us move that quite along. Also with the Board of Adjustments, and also with our planning commission. We contract out our plan review and our inspections with Bureau Veritas. We also contract out with our health inspector,
Dwayne.
So a lot of contracting out instead of having personnel in-house. We are looking at October to revisit some of those services. Something that have been in discussion with our neighboring cities, that we can possibly get a better deal with that if we all three approach them in lieu of each individually approaching them. I think that's something that's great. That's a relationship that we have with Hudson Oaks and Aledo now, and maybe that wasn't there in the past. What we're looking to do as far as development is concerned, everybody knows that Willow Park is a wonderful place to live. It is definitely, since I've been there 2 weeks, I've worked here almost 3 years in January. Great organization, and I can see how, from a staff perspective, myself, that the place has changed overnight. Speaking with staff, we all like one another. We don't tolerate one another. I think that's something that's and we want to be here, and that's a good thing. Development. Everybody wants to know when's the next big restaurant coming in. We have been in discussion with people that want to come to Willow Park. You know, they call you up and say, hey, do you have 5 acres somewhere? I need 10 acres somewhere. I need, you know, what can you do? What's going on? And that's a testament not only to staff, but it's obviously a testament to you guys. So that's development in a nutshell. I'd be happy to go and, you know, I don't want to bore you. My budget requests are going to be basically the same as they were last year. We're trying to cut costs in certain areas and save money and increase services. So that's exciting. I'm going to pass out, back in 2017, Jacob and Martin did your capital improvement program. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but you had this on the books. It deals with your water, wastewater, drainage, streets, to identifying the problem. Is this a drainage study? No, it's not. This is just a plan that was based off of our 2014 comp plan and our existing conditions. So I'll pass this out to each one of the council members, and you can have that. If you don't mind, will you pass it? Yeah, for me as well. You have yours. And this kind of drills down in the details of what capital is. And if anybody else wants one, I've got one. 3 more here. And we don't have to, we're not going to go over every one of these and tell you exactly what water line is, what street's going to get repaired, or anything of that nature. The sheet that you have right now, they're put together. I'm not saying that this is in concrete. I'm not saying that this is what we're going to do in reference to, hey, because it's going to be setting an agenda from this council. And you'll see, you'll look at everything in the spreadsheet, and I'll try to explain to you real quick. It's broken out in fiscal years. We have a 1 to 5 year plan, and then we have a 6 to 10 year plan. And if you look to your left, it says activity. W is for water, WW is wastewater, S is streets, and D is drainage. Now, what I've asked Mr. Turner to do was give us a general budget or overview of what this is going to cost. And you'll see if we got, let's just take fiscal year 1920, right? You look at all your different projects based on priorities, and it kind of gives you a little bit more of a definition within that report that I just handed you, where some of it's Fort Worth water, some of it's well rehab, and then you'll deal with, you got some things in there with on the streets, you have Ranch House Road, Fox Hunt, and it's already funded. A lot of these things that from 6 to 10 years, it's not funded. Some of the things that's 1 to 5, it's not funded. Some are. This is just giving you a tool in your toolbox when you're looking at putting a budget together, when you do have requests from fire for personnel, when you do have requests from PD, which is for personnel and items, which they're your biggest ticket items on your budget. Everybody knows that. But you do have capital infrastructure. You hear it every day. I need my street fixed. I need water quality improved. I need wastewater taken care of. Well, this takes what that information is in that capital plan that I gave you and puts dollars to it. It just simplifies it. And you get a snapshot. And what you don't do in one fiscal year, obviously if it needs to be done, it's just going to get, you've heard the phrase, kick the can down the road. It's just going to keep pushing, and then it obviously is going to keep going up. But these numbers are, what you're seeing in 24, 25, they are adjusted for inflation, so they're good to do that. So it's not today's cost for 24, 25. It is what it's adjusted for inflation.
So Bernie, if I'm reading this correctly, for fiscal year 1920, everything is funded.
No. Well, as far as depending on what project it is, you have your Texas, it'll tell you the complete phase 1 of surface water tie-in Fort Worth. That's, you've already, we're going to issue the debt for that. That's going to come from Texas Water Board Development Board. Right. So if you come down and it says, put my glasses on, and it's basically giving you a brief overview without telling you everything. It's collection, inspection, and testing, $50,000 budgeted. Kings Liftgate improvement. Some of these was budgeted in this fiscal year. They're just getting carried over.
Right.
So You come down, let's look at Sam Bass Court, the Old Fort reconstruction, that's not funded. It just depending, you can see where it falls in and where it falls in for 2021, Old Fort, excuse me, Sam Bass Court, Old Fort Road reconstruction is 2021, that's not funded.
Right,
We're just,
right.
yeah.
So I'm just
It
talking
gives
for
you a-
1920.
Yeah, it gives you a snapshot, okay, yeah. It gives you a snapshot of what is done and what is not done. Ranch House Road, that's funded, we issued debt for that. Drainage improvements, he's saying it's not funded because this is something that we're trying to address our drainage problem. So I wanted to put a dollar figure in there so we can do some type of work. So it gives you an idea of what you're looking at. Ranch House Road, Ranch House from Fox Hunt to Scenic Rehabilitation, that's what we're about to start in construction. It falls in this fiscal year and also next fiscal year. We deal with permanent, 1 million gallon wastewater treatment plant. If that's not funded, it's simply that as far as, let me take that back. You're paying on your debt.
Yes.
So that's why it's put in there. Now we can drill down and we can talk about this in greater detail. I just wanted to give you an overview when you're digesting all the costs associated with it. You do have this at your fingertips, that you know that most every capital improvement project that I'm aware of has always been completed by issuing debt. And so that really does impact your INS, which is going to impact your M&O. So you know all that. It also impacts how you're going to deal with your tax rate. So we wanted to give you guys this tool so you are aware of what you're facing as far as infrastructure is concerned. The streets, water, wastewater, your drainage issues. Now we do have plans that we will go into in greater detail. We do have some solutions, possibly with drainage. So we have a plan. It depends on if you want to execute it. For example, drainage, we don't have a stormwater drainage fee. We don't have that. It's recommended by staff that we look at that, and it's both going to be a residential cost and also a commercial cost. Commercial will carry the biggest load on that because they have the most impervious structure.
So something like that, that's basically a choice. Implement that fee or raise your taxes.
You're going to pay for one with the other.
Yeah.
You don't have any water line in this summary, is it in the?
Water, if you go back and look for, water, you'll see is really consumed in Fort Worth for your funding. And then you drop down to 6 to 10, how he put it as a priority, that's really where your water gets hit.
Okay,
Now-
but I mean, not just the main water line, but replacement of existing water lines, we don't have that.
No, we don't have that right now, but I will tell you, that has been a discussion myself and Bryan. We went back and looked at our funding that we have within that budget. We do have additional water funds that's in there. And let me re-stress this. Guys, this isn't saying that this is what we're going to do. This is just saying, hey, here's your plan. You guys can come back and say, you know what's been put in 10 years out, it's a priority, and as a consensus as a whole, as the council, we want to move that up. You have that. This you can move this. This isn't set in stone. We took this based on what report was already done in 17, and we just put numbers to it, and then gave it to you in Excel. So please don't think that there's a project in 2010 that you can't move it up to 2000. I mean, sorry, 2000, and we've already passed 2010.
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah, something that.
Hang on, I'll be right back. So what I'm saying is we're trying to give you numbers to give you a good picture so you can make good decisions. Now I will tell you, when it comes to streets, there is a pavement conditioning. They did a pavement condition index to be able to establish you what's the most priority. Now, depending on, you talk what citizen, where they're at, their street's the most important one, right? So I will tell you, as when you look through there, if you were to look and say, and it's not improving every street, it's improving every bad street that you have within the city, based on that report, over 20 years, the cost to do that is $12.5 million. That's just streets. And that's over a period of 20 years doing it based on that. So, it depends on what direction this council wants to go and what's the priority. Water lines, replacement, we've got funds there that we definitely can take a look at, and I think that's for a different time and a different place, but, that's that component. But we wanted to get you some information. I mean, we got things we have to do with our water towers. We have things we have to do with our wastewater system. We got to put trunk lines down. We've got to do a lot of different things to bring sewer to our residents north of 20. So it's a lot of money. I mean, I know, and I don't like using this phrase, but when you start doing wastewater and water, it's not really the sexy items, so to speak. I mean, it's not the fire ladder truck. It's not the new cruisers. But if you don't have it, they can't do their job. If he doesn't have water, he can't put a fire out. He can just stand there and watch it. So we don't have streets that are in good condition. Police can't respond in a timely manner. Now, I would probably debate that with a certain chief that I've been riding with. See, it doesn't matter what kind of service you
You're
go.
fine.
That's why they have four-wheel drive.
Why they have their cars realigned and buy different tires and rims.
Every 6 months.
Yeah. So development is good, development is positive, development is definitely going on. So, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has. I'm excited just to hit you a little bit on the parks. We got that coming on, Park Master Plan. We know things that are happening behind the scenes. That's another fund. I don't think you're going to hit it next year, but you'll hit it the following fiscal year, but you're going to create a parks department. And then you're going to have legacy costs, personnel. You got to deal with equipment. You got to deal with pesticides, chemicals, training. The list keeps going on and on. The other thing that we don't have in our budget right now, but if I do oversee it, is code enforcement. We do not have a code enforcement officer right now. We have to fulfill that. The other thing we're going to look at as far as do we have an animal control officer? We don't have that. We contract out with Weatherford. We are coming up with some creative ideas and something that is we're thinking outside the box based on our past experiences in municipalities. Both chiefs were talking at it, and we're going to bring that idea back to you guys and see if you like how it's appealing. Everything we want to do is really it's not a want, it's a need, and it's definitely providing that service to our citizens that they are really demanding. And the more people that we have moving here from the Metroplex, the more people that you're going to see that are going to increase those needs, and they're going to be funded directly by development. Everything that you see behind you on the screen is development, and that's going to increase our sales tax. That's going to also give us the ability to provide these services to the people in the workforce. So, any questions?
Yes. Replacement of deteriorated lines for our water. Do we have any lead pipes?
Lead pipes. You have three
that the city has.
We had, and I'll have to go back and talk with Derek. As far as you had iron ductile pipe, lead pipe, I cannot tell you 100%. I've talked to Derek on it.
I've never heard of it.
I don't
Yeah,
believe
from what I
it.
understand, there's
But
not
we do
any
have
lead.
iron. We replaced the past water project that we did. Was iron ductile pipe that they went in and replaced with PVC.
Okay.
So.
Because it was a used water system they bought.
So, I hope that makes
I just want to make sure we don't have anything like that, and if we do, we can identify it and we can remediate it as quick as possible.
Yeah, a lot of things, and I'll give you a brief, because I went through this experience in a municipality that I worked at. You have it to where, the thing happened in Flint, Michigan that they talk about. Just to give you a quick overview of what that is our water system and their water system is totally different things. It's all based on your chemical makeup or your minerals and what in your water.
Supply, yeah.
Yes, and then you see where I can talk as far as surface water versus well water, and then that components, and then you have what they call lead and copper report, which a lead and copper report by TCQ is not really the conditions of the lines that you service within your city. It's your house. Back in the 80s, they did a lot of soldering with PVC pipes and stuff that had lead and that had different types of copper, and it would impact. We do that testing within Willow Park with our residents. They identify certain houses that were built within that time period, and then they send it off to for testing, and we have it. They're bad reports.
Thanks, Vernon.
Yeah, what portion of this morning can we go back and revisit this list?
So, the next thing we're going to do is, if y'all want, we can continue. If you want to take a short 5-minute break, we can do that. The next thing I was planning on doing was having council. If y'all want to make any remarks, you can go to the podium, or you can make them from your chair, whatever. I'm going to give y'all the opportunity to speak to staff as far as what y'all think. I know we gave us a lot of information in the last hour.
You didn't bring up the servers.
I know.
We need to mention that.
Didn't bring up what?
Servers.
We need servers and also desktops in order to do the new software that we're doing, and we're looking at approximately $80,000.
Now, this session is basically giving us a jump start, because we're going to discuss this in open session with the
Yes.
public and everything. This
Well,
just
we
gives
are in
us a
open
jump.
session right now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in town, on site, so this is our jump start for council to study.
Well, the thing we wanted to come out of this with is we want to show you what your short-term and long-term needs are through the CIP, through Mike, and through Carrie. And I think we kind of narrowed it down to, and then we need some money for servers, we need money for desktops, we need money for a number of other things. But I want y'all to see the big picture and what we have to look at moving forward on the budget. I want your input. I know that you put some work into envisioning things for you. I know Leah's done the same. We want to hear from y'all. We don't really hear from y'all except for at a council meeting, and then maybe individually here and there. We want to hear from you because you may have something presented to us. We may already have an answer for it, or maybe something we haven't thought about. And so we want to hear from you guys. And then what we would like to do is to walk out of here with some goals that we put up here and say, we're going to fund this, and we want you to fund this, and we want you to fund this. And then we'll put a price tag to it, and then we'll come back to you and say, here's how you're going to pay for it. And that's how I think we're going to start this. And I'd love to, I know we took a lot of incoming, but I'd love to do something like this every year prior to a budget workshop. Because I think it gives us a good opportunity of what y'all want, y'all hear what we need, and then we figure out how we're going to pay for it.
I say we take a quick break and we come back and go to strategic plan for the next hour.